Hello everybody. As part of this month's newsletter, I've recorded another video for you to show you the current market action that's occurred over the last month. Before I get started, I just need to remind you that I'm not a licensed investment advisor and I can't provide you with any personal investment advice. This video is for illustrative purposes only, and I'm just showing you how I view the current market and sharing this with you. So nothing is to be taken as financial advice, and it's all for illustrative purposes only. On the screen here I have a chart of the S&P ASX 200, and there has certainly been some strong market action since my last newsletter. Last newsletter we left the market around this point. It had fallen with new lows again, rising up, then making more lows, small rise up and more lows before having a very big strong volatility move and rising back up to these levels over here. So there has certainly been some sharp volatility moves in here. Now I was mostly short in the market during this drop here, and I maintained those short positions, and the stop losses were hit on most of those trades during this point in here. But all my trailing stops had moved, and most of them were in a position of taking a small loss or small profit. Unfortunately there was no big winners in there. If we have a look at the weekly chart of the S&P ASX 200, you can see that at this stage the 30-week moving average line on this chart is still falling and the share price is still trending below it. So even though on the daily chart it has had a sharp rise back up, it's still looking unhealthy on the weekly chart. So it's going to be very interesting to see if it maintains this unhealthy stage and continues to make lower lows, or we have it moving back into its sideways zone. That I don't know and I don't predict. Now as part of my analysis and what I teach all my clients is to also go and have a look at the other world markets around the world and form a view as to what's happening there, as well as a range of other indicators and sector charts that I discuss throughout the Smart Trading Plan and System Development online course. So I want to now go and have a look at the S&P 500 chart, and here it is here. This is a daily chart of the US S&P 500, and the yo-yo activity is still continuing. I mean, from the big drop in early August, the rise up, another drop, the rise up, another drop, rise up, and drop, rise up, and this time a drop to equal lows over here, to this wick over here from the August lows. Did actually drop below, making new lows, and now it's recovered back up again. So at the moment it's still bouncing around this support line here and this resistance line here, and it has been for 2.5 months now. If we go and have a look at the weekly chart, we can see the moving average line is still falling and the share price activity is still below it. So for this market to become healthy, it has to move back above this 30-week moving average line and back above the resistance areas over here. If it falls back and if there is a break below these support levels, then that's confirming that we are in a stage 4 downtrend, and that's definitely not a healthy sign for the market. So it's really churning around at the moment, but it's also showing signs of being unhealthy because it is trading below its 30-week moving average line. And time will tell whether we're going to form that stage 4 downtrend or it's going to move back up to the levels that it's been at earlier this year. And if we go back to the daily chart, we're still getting some very sharp long black candles and very sharp long white candles. So there's some very extreme volatility moves in here which can play havoc with short and medium term trading systems. So last newsletter in the video I shared with you that a short trade that I had opened. So I want to go to that chart now and show you what has happened with that particular trade. So here's the chart here, and this trade is Flight Centre. Now I entered a short position on Flight Centre on the 14th of September, which was this point here. Every time you see a blue arrow on the chart, that was when my short daily trading system gave me a signal. So when I ran my scan, it came up in the report, and this is the area that I entered in to the chart just here. I'll just draw a circle around it for you. So it came up on this day in my scan. I entered short because it was making new lows, taking out these other lows that it had made over here. I then put my trailing stop loss on the chart, Now the share did fall lower, and so did my trailing stop loss. So the trailing stop loss, each time the share makes a new lower close, the trailing stop loss moves down accordingly. And then eventually when the share price crosses through, that's when my stop loss is activated and I'm taken out of the trade. So this share fell nice slowly and steadily, and there was no reason for me to take any different action. It did start to rise up over here, but for all I knew it could continue back down. But then it had a very strong move on this day, which was the 11th of October, and that's where it took out my stop loss. And I had my stop loss sitting just above the round number of $18. So I entered this trade on the 14th of September at $17.91, and I was taken out of the trade on the 11th of October at $18.10. And I held this trade for a total of 27 trade days, and I took a very small loss on the trade. So I lost about 1% on the total trade size and 10% on the margin of the trade, because this was a CFD trade and there was a 12% margin on this trade that I had to outlay to undertake that short position. And that's a very similar story to what happened with a lot of my short trades just recently. They'd all moved very nicely my way, and so had my trailing stop loss. So some of them I took a small profit on, and some of them I took a small loss on. And that's the nature of trading sometimes. I will make my most money when I get those big winners in the market, and that's what I'm looking for. But in the meantime, sometimes you've got to go through these periods of small losses and small profits to find the big winners in the market. And that's just part of the nature of trading. And with this current market volatility, I haven't had any more than 5 traders open at once. And that's because my portfolio heat won't allow me to. And also I've just been through 2 weeks of school holidays, so I have not been actively watching the market as I would normally do. But that's one of the great things about trading. You know, for me, trading is all about fitting it in with your lifestyle. I don't want trading to create more stress in my life. I want it to fit in with my lifestyle. And one of the new trades that I've taken on board, which I'll open up a chart of now, is this chart here. I'm not going to name the chart because I will disclose it once the trade is closed. But this chart here, this share, if you look at all the blue arrows, that means when I ran my daily long scan on those days, this share came up in the report. So when I ran my daily long scan, which was on this day, the 5th of October, and I'll show you what happened on the 5th of October. I've got my scan set up to run again on the 5th of October. This is on the ASX 300 shares. 3 shares came up. Now I was very attracted to this particular share, and the reason why out of those 3 shares I was attracted to this one is because it had been churning sideways for quite some time, as you can see here, and it hadn't been past these points here since about August. Now we had a strong breakthrough just here with a nice white candle and above average volume. So we had a volume spike going above its moving average, which was showing some volume strength here. Now I was running my scans of an evening during school holidays because I couldn't be focused on the market during the day. So I ran my scan in the evening, saw those 3 shares, and I liked this one. Now I wasn't in a hurry to enter a trade because I knew the market had been unhealthy, and with the swing trading system I can trade long and short. Now I wasn't confident that this move may continue because the market had ultimately been falling. So what I did is I set up a trade. Now if this share could take out the next highest point that it had been to, which was back in early July, and which was around that round number of $12, it had gapped through it before, it had got some resistance, and it hadn't traded above this level since early June. So if it got above the nice round number of $12, then I would be happy to enter it. And when I looked at the weekly chart of this trade, the moving average line on this share had been falling. I'll just thicken up that moving average line so you can see it a little bit better. The moving average line had been falling, and I knew if the price could get above $12, it would also push itself above that moving average line, which is giving me a signal that this share could be becoming healthy again. So the $12 was very significant to me. So what I did is I set up a buy order in the market linked with an if done stop loss. So if the share did move through $12, $12.08, which it did the next trade day, I was automatically entered into the trade. So I now had a long position open on this trade on the 6th of October. the share continued higher, and so has my stop loss. So my stop loss is just sitting below the round number of $12 now. Now, I don't know what this share is going to do next. It does have a wick and is looking unfavorable here, and it may come off a bit. I mean, it might be due for a pullback here. So as long as it stays above $12, that's fine. I'm going to stay with the trade. If it doesn't, I will be taken out of the trade, and that's what my stop loss is going to tell me. If it moves higher, my stop loss will continue to move higher. So I'll keep you updated and share with you what happens with this trade in the next newsletter. Until then, keep watching, analysing, and updating your trading plan if needed. The market is going to be your biggest learning experience, but you need to have that concise trading plan that's going to tell you what to do in all kinds of markets. And if you need help, visit my website www.smarttrading.com.au, download your free report and have a good look around. I have plenty of information on there, and you can also learn about my trading systems and strategies through a course that I have called the Smart Trading Plan and System Development course. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. There's a Contact Us button on my website, and I've got my email address and contact details all on there. So feel free to send me an email. Goodbye for now.